In this video, we are going to talk about the coagulation cascade. Before beginning, make sure you have seen the first part of the video which explains the clotting factors in detail. I will leave a link to that video on the screen right now. Be sure to watch that video for a better understanding of this topic. Let's first have an overview regarding what happens in the coagulation cascade. So we have an intrinsic pathway and then we have an extrinsic pathway. They both eventually lead to the formation of prothrombin activator, which is actually the activated factor X. Once prothrombin activator is activated, it in the presence of calcium ions, it converts prothrombin into thrombin. And when sufficient quantity of thrombin is formed in the blood, it leads to the conversion of fibrinogen into fibrin. But initially these fibrin are just monomers and they cannot form a stable clot. So in the presence of calcium ions, the fibrin stabilizing factor, which is actually the factor number 13, it acts on them and converts them into fibrin polymers by formation of covalent bonds in the fibrin monomers. And eventually they lead to the formation of a clot by attracting lots of platelets, lots of phospholipids and other materials which adheres on them and forms a stable clot which plugs the bleeding site and leads to hemostasis. Let's first talk about the extrinsic pathway. So the extrinsic pathway begins with any factor which causes tissue trauma. Now this trauma can be a trauma to the vascular wall itself, or it can also be a trauma to the extravascular tissue. And this causes the release of the tissue factor, also known as tissue thromboplastin. Now this tissue factor causes the conversion of factor number 7 to activated factor number 7. And then the tissue factor combines with the activated factor 7 in the presence of calcium ions and causes the conversion of factor number 10 to activated factor number 10. And then the factor number 10, which is activated in the presence of calcium ions, and factor number 5 forms the prothrombin activator. And rest events are the same, that is the prothrombin activator causes the conversion of prothrombin into thrombin. Now let's talk about the intrinsic pathway. Intrinsic pathway begins with any factor which causes trauma to the blood cells directly or causes the exposure of the blood cells to collagen. This causes activation of factor number 12. So when the factor number 12 is activated, it acts upon the factor number 11 and causes its activation, that is 11A. And this 11A factor acts upon the factor number 9 and forms the factor number 9A. And these reactions require some cofactors such as the high molecular weight kininogens and the calcium ions. And then the factor number 9, which is activated in the presence of factor number 8A, which is derived from factor number 8. It combines with the calcium ions and causes the activation of factor number 10. And then the events are almost same as that of the extrinsic pathway, that is combination of the activated factor 10 to calcium ions and factor 5 and formation of a prothrombin activator. And the prothrombin activator subsequently acting on the prothrombin and formation of thrombin. So to summarize what happens in the coagulation cascade, we have the intrinsic pathway and the extrinsic pathway. They both ultimately lead to the formation of a prothrombin activator, that is activator factor 10. And this causes the formation of thrombin from prothrombin. And the thrombin acts on fibrinogen to form fibrin monomers. But these monomers are not stable and they cannot form a clot. So the fibrin stabilizing factor, which is the factor number 13, it acts upon the fibrin monomers and forms a lot of covalent bonds between the fibrin monomers. And this leads to the formation of a fibrin mesh. And this mesh attracts platelets, phospholipids, and forms a stable blood clot, which causes hemostasis. So this was pretty much all about the coagulation cascade. I hope you find this video informative. Make sure to hit the like button below and also subscribe to our channel. We have tons of upcoming videos on hematology, gastroenterology and many other topics. So make sure to hit the subscribe button to have a regular update about those videos. Also make sure to like us on Facebook. We discuss lots of tips, tricks and lots of mnemonics regarding studies. Anyways, thank you for watching this video.